I would say that we are definitely in the market for left-hand bats, and we're still continuing to be in that market. We're working hard every day to see what we can add. And so if there was a left-hand bat that was available, I would say that we were in on it. So,
do you feel like to get that, you're going to have to trade from the Major League roster?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think it depends on the club, as to who you're trading and who you're dealing with. But we are locked into somehow trying to find a left-hand bat. Make no mistake, I really feel like our lineup is really good right now, but it would be a nice piece to the lineup to add a left-hand bat or two.
Is that something where you're focusing on trade talks, or is free agency there a possibility for that?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on both fronts. We try not to exclude one thing. You try to work free agent, try to work trade, and do what's best for the team and the organization.
I don't think we've talked to you since you guys acquired Kaiwei Tang the other day. Just what do you see his role? He's started and relieved a little bit. Kind of what do you see his role going forward, and what do you guys like about him?
Yeah, major gut feel of mine. We started working through the process at the winter meetings. I was locked in on getting some pitching. We watched a lot of video, talked to a lot of people, talked to some people in our front office, and we finally got the deal done. But this is a big, strong dude who could run it up to 96 with really good spin weapons, and he can strike guys out, right? And so we feel like anytime we get pitching in this organization, because of our reputation with pitching, I think there's another step up, so there's some upside with Tang.
You guys, is he going to come to camp as a starter and just kind of see where it goes from there?
Yeah, definitely coming in as a starter, and it's going to create a lot of competition. And you guys have heard me say competition is not the enemy of victories, but more of a friend of victories.
Where do you stand as far as your infield depth? Obviously, you have a lot of pieces and not as many spots. Is that something that still could be a focus in clearing up some of those guys with the surplus that you have?
Listen, in terms of our infield depth, you guys have heard me say we got a lot of rooms for people to get at bats. But I think right now we have a really good infield. We do have the depth, but we have a long season of 162. We have some veterans that we'd like to give some breaks during the course of the season. And to have this depth is good because, last year we ran into some injuries. And so we feel like if something goes wrong, in the injury department, look, we have the depth. And so we're not super motivated to move any of our depth. But if we get a chance to move some depth and it makes sense that we can increase or make the team better, we will do it.
Did Hunter have any?
Listen, in terms of World Baseball Classic, we feel like this is a good camaraderie. It's a very good product. We tell our guys, look, if you want to participate, if that's what their prerogative is, you could do that. Some guys, that suffer certain injuries or different things like that, we may have a slightly different opinion, but we don't have the final say.
Was that the opinion with Jose and Carlos outside of the insurance concerns?
No, look, the insurance concerns are the insurance concerns. That's outside of our control here with the Astros.
You were talking about the infield surplus just now. It would seem, just on paper, that the two guys that would affect the most are Paredes and Walker. Have either of them, and this may be a better question for Joe, but have either of them reached out to you or Joe this winter to kind of get a stance of where they stand, kind of their path to at-bats, just kind of, because, it's been out there for a while that this could cut into both of their playing time?
It is more of a Joe question. They haven't reached out to me. I didn't expect them to reach out to me, but I will say this. I feel like there's enough playing time with the DH slot and the ability to move some guys around, whether it's giving Altuve a few games and left or DH and Paredes some, and allowing Walker to be at first, which could open up second base for Paredes. You're going to have to rest Correa at times. You can play Paredes at third, Pena's going to need rest. You could play Correa at short and put Paredes at third. So, I mean, look, we have some moving parts, but I think the depth is going to create some flexibility for the manager. But as I mentioned before, if we get an opportunity to make the team better by some way of trade, we will do that.
This is sort of the time of year when extensions get done. Is there anybody that's approached you or you're trying to work on as far as getting extensions done going forward?
No, we have talked to some of our guys about extensions in the past, but nothing of recent have we talked about extension. We're more fired up about the 2026 season, and we're kind of locked in and ready to go.
With everything that Jordan went through last year, what are your expectations for him entering this season?
Yeah, I feel like Jordan's going to be totally healthy. He's got a big smile on his face. I think this is probably the best he's felt in a long time. He's been doing a lot of workouts, and he's been swinging the bat a lot. Zero concerns at all. He's on pace to be ready for spring training, and so that's an exciting part about why we're so giddy about this season, because we can get Jordan for a full season. But good question. He's locked in and ready to go.
Is there still interest of adding a backup catcher with pitchers of catchers returning soon?
Yeah, I mean, we're still talking about backup catcher. Look, we feel good about Salazar. At the end of the day, he's good enough to be our backup. We kind of got spoiled with Caratini. He was such a good backup that he could start on a lot of other teams. If we can upgrade in that area, we will. If not, Salazar will be the guy until we can upgrade, right? And so, we feel good about, where we are right now. But if we can upgrade, we will.
At this point, do you think it's likely that both Paredes and Walker will be on the roster when you guys get to camp?
Yeah, I mean, right now, look, both of them are still part of our roster. We have plans for both of them to play. And so, right now, the plan is for both of them to be here.
Outside of Wisniewski and Blanco and Brandon Walter, are there other pitchers you're aware of that aren't ready to go when spring training begins?
The only one that, based on his build-up, it could be, because we want him to start, it could be Pearson. Pearson's the guy that, he had to clean up in his elbow just right at the end of the season there. And so that might be the only guy, but he's building up with no issues. But we actually want to try to make him a starter, and we could easily put him in a bullpen just to create some depth. And he could even be a long guy or a swing man at some point in the season. So because the goal is to build him up, it may take a little bit longer. So that's really the only other guy.
Hader and Souza, as far as you know, good to go?
As far as I know, those guys have been, building up, in their own way and getting themselves ready for spring training. And, of course, as we get closer and as those guys get ramped up even more, we'll know more about it. But, those guys have been coming along.
Dana, what do you guys expect from Sanchez and getting a full season out of him, and where do you guys profile him out in the outfield?
Yeah, I mean, Sanchez was a guy that came over. We really like his tools. He's got some power. He can run. And so he hit a rough patch with us. It was a different environment that he had to adjust to. But we still believe in the talent. And so, we'll see what it looks like this spring. But, he's apparently out working hard to make this jump for this season this year.
How much work do you envision Paredes getting at second base in camp?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about that more probably during spring training. But I think there may be some opportunity to get some reps at second, some reps at third, and some reps at first, of course, and then with the DH slot.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble with the insurance stuff, but do you know if Paredes is going to – I know he had expressed interest in playing in the WBC. Do you know if he's going to be able to?
Yeah, as far as I know, Paredes is not going to play in the WBC. And if that's related to the insurance, that would be outside of our organization.
Do you know – I think Yiner and Pena have committed that they're going to play for the DR. Do you know of anybody else on your 40 that's going to play in the WBC?
From what I know, it's Wickham, it's DeCenzo, and it's Pena. And Yiner, I still think that one's up in the air.
Wickham would be for Korea, you know?
Yes.
And DeCenzo, Italy?
Italy, correct.
Playing time. Who gets the most at bats out there the way your roster is constructed?
Oh man, you go there right off the bat. Obviously we're going to let this play out in spring training. We have quite a few guys that can play the position, and I'm going to give opportunities to a lot of these guys to answer those questions for us. I mentioned that because I know that you're trying to, we immediately want to go about Jordan. Jordan, I would like to give him most of his at bats as a DH, and I will do everything in my power to keep him in that DH spot. He will get some opportunities in left field to keep that DH spot open for other players. But this is going to be competition from the get-go, and we'll see where we stand there and see who could get most of those at bats there during the season.
You mentioned Jordan. Dana just told us he's healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
How much are you looking forward to a full, healthy season with Jordan?
A lot. It's when he's healthy, obviously he's one of the best players in the major leagues. There's no doubt about that. Not only the production that he does, but how much he makes everyone around him better. So keeping him healthy it's one of my main goals. So going to spring training and having a plan in place is very important. And there's going to be some players getting opportunities there early to see if those players can fulfill some of that, kind of get more of those repetitions there. So we're still working through that. But he'll play some in there because that DH spot can benefit. I needed to be open for some of all the veteran players to get some other at bats there.
Joe, have you gotten any reports from the guys if they've had a chance to work with Victor or Anthony yet? And just if so, what has some of that feedback been?
Yeah, the feedback was good. He was here doing the Fan Fest, and some of the players went in the cage and got a chance to meet Victor and take some swings and just kind of pick his brain. One thing that players do is once you hire someone new, they start calling players who they know from the other team, and they did that. And the players were very, very pleased with the feedback they got from San Diego and the Guardians regarding Victor and Iapoce.
Joe, in general, how open are you? How do you think Zach Cole can handle the corner spots? I know you guys had to play him there last year when he came up. Just how comfortable would he be if you gave him some left field run? How comfortable is he there?
I think he'll be comfortable there. He's one of those players in which we, kind of goes to that left field who's going to get most of those reps there. We get guys like Zach Cole. Jesus Sanchez can also play left field. We got guys like Cam Smith. I mentioned that I'm going to get Cam Smith an opportunity to play some center field. We have Jake Myers. It's how can I keep all these guys healthy in the lineup? That is going to be our focus there during spring training, and see how could we shape the roster with everyone can get enough. Everybody's getting playing time, and we could keep everyone healthy.
So you think Camel gets some run in center?
Yeah, I'm going to give him. Yes, I will give him some. I'm going to give him some games in center field. Yes.
Have you talked with any of the prospective WCBC guys about the event, and what are your thoughts on that as a ramp up versus risk of injury?
Yeah, I've talked to some of them, and I was talking to Jeremy, and Jeremy is a player that plays the game hard. He plays the game smart. I don't want him going to WBC and holding back. That's when things don't go your way. So for me, my message to him is just be smart decisions you make, and go and represent your country. I'm a fan of players doing it for their country, and I did it for my country. So, WBC it's something that there's rules in place, and there is a process in place, and sometimes there's things that happen that they're not in our control.
Joe, assuming Paredes is still in the roster when you guys get to camp, just how much work do you envision him getting at second base, and will you maybe handle that with him if he's going to be moving around positions? Like, how is he going to break up his work?
So, spring training is going to answer those questions for us. Obviously, I mentioned that I want to put him some second base and see, he's done in the past, but we want to see how he reacts to that. Obviously, he's going to get some playing time at third base. Carlos is going to need some time off during the season. And there comes the DH spot also, right, where it kind of allows me to rotate Paredes through that spot. But we have some questions to answer. And we're going to go into spring training with a pretty good plan on how we're going to get these guys some playing time to answer those questions for us without us forcing the issue too much. And now we run into a position where we playing them too much too early, and it could affect their performance once April comes around.
Building off of that, it would seem just outside looking in that your infield surplus, it would mostly affect Walker and Paredes. Those are the two guys that would stand to have their playing time. Have either of them kind of reached out to you just throughout the offseason, just seeking clarity on their roles, and kind of what is your message to them? As there's a lot of like you just said, there's a lot of questions to answer.
Yeah, and I talked to those guys, and my message always been this is going to play out, and let's just get to spring training, and like go out and prepare ourselves to win, right? I don't want this to become a distraction. I think this is going to play itself out. But right now they understand where we at, and they understand that we need all of us to be together to accomplish our goal. So I want our focus just to be on that. We have a ton of games in the month of April, so we can benefit from getting some of those guys some early off days, and treating that first couple of weeks of the regular season as a build up, as spring training, right? We want to be smart about how those first 2 weeks, we want to get out to a good start. We have the players to do that. We have the pitching to do that. So my focus is going to be not having to run these guys down on the first month of the season when we have 26 games in 28 days, when we have some really good players in the starting lineup and also on the bench that can come in and give these guys a breather.
You find Hosey being one of those guys that you might have to convince, like, hey,
who was that?
Hosey. Just it's a good DH.
Man, he's always, he wants to play. He wants to play. But I think last year he did like the DH spot. So I could envision him continue to enjoy having a couple of DH stairs here and there.
Joe, overall, now that you've had a little bit of reflect, what did you think of his season, Altuve's, and just kind of,
man,
I get who he is, but just like, it probably wasn't the season, just stats-wise, that he would envision. Just what do you think, maybe, is it a little tweak he can do, or to get back to maybe what we're accustomed to seeing from
Listen, I think Hosey played through a lot last season, and for him to hit 25, 26 homers, and OPS being somewhere between 770, 780, if we didn't have the amount of injuries and I could have given Hosey some extra days off his feet, we're talking about 820 OPS, right? We're talking about 30 home runs. So for me, based on what we went through all these injuries, that was a really good year. The numbers were not there, but my job is going to help Hosey have the right amount of time to be off his feet so we could have the best version of Altuve every time he's on the field.
Is there some value, you think, for you and the teammates to have Carlos here for the entire year, starting in spring training?
Yeah, I do believe that. I think it's important, messaging, our preparation, our discipline, our consistency, how we get ready. Carlos is is someone that we all will lean on that. Because he's not only he does it on the baseball field, but also in the clubhouse. So also for the younger players, we need some of these younger players to come in, and we need to build them up and see what they're capable of doing. So Carlos is that extra coach that we have in the clubhouse.
I know Carlos has talked about being very comfortable at third base. Do you still see him envisioning getting some grounders at shortstop and starting some games this coming season at short?
Just third base. Our focus is third base. I'm sure if I ask him to go play one game at short, he'll say sure, he'll do it. But Carlos is our third baseman.
Joe, when you missed the playoffs by a tiebreaker, do you reflect at all after the season on what is one thing we could have done differently, that I could have done differently, and do you take anything into the next season in light of that circumstance?
Yes.
Nothing to divulge, though.
No. Yes. It goes all the way from, I don't want to win the division by one game. We want to win the division by 3-4 games, right? When it comes to one game, it makes it much tougher because then you're like, oh man, where can we pick and choose? So, but yeah, I learned a lot about myself and about our team and our staff, and we have discussed that, and we're excited to get down to West Palm and make the changes that we need to get these guys ready to go.
Y'all looked internally at all the injuries that this team went through last year. What are some changes or philosophies you feel like you need to lean into going into this season?
For me, it's going to be, you guys are going to see a little bit of our spring training, how we build these guys up. It's going to be smaller groups coming out different times. It's going to be more efficient, smaller, give more one-on-one time with the coaches. we have a new ABS system, so we're going to have a monitor next to the home plate, and we're going to work on certain things just to make sure that we not only build up for the season, but also adjust to the new rules that are coming into play. So it's going to be different, but in a good way.
Bryce Matthews working during spring. Second base. You mentioned center field. But
In center
much
field,
is he gonna
yeah,
move around?
he's gonna move around. I'm gonna play him some second base. Thinking about maybe potentially in one game, start him in center, finish the game in second base, just to see that transition. How that goes in a game, because I think he's got the versatility and athleticism to do it. And he's going to start getting those reps early in camp.
Where's McCullers at right now, just in mindset in terms of health, and where is he going to be entering camp?
Yeah, good. He threw a bullpen here for us today. Healthy off season, be able to ramp up with no issues. He's going to come in, and we're going to build him up as a starter, and he's going to compete for those spots. One thing that Lance McCullers have that other players in our current roster don't have is, this guy's pitched in the World Series. This guy's pitching big games for us. He knows what it is to pitch in a big, packed stadium when the game is on the line. So that's valuable. That's something that you can't teach it, and Lance McCullers brings that experience to the table.